episode of Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia. Here we are. I've got my Merry 4th of You Know the Thing shirt on. And
beautiful shirt, Bobby.
Yes, it is awesome.
Beautiful shirt.
Steve Barrett, tell us what is coming up on today's episode.
Well, we've got a good one. As always, journalists are debating the word obliterated. They get so confused about it. They don't know what that word means. But it gives us a good view into the state of journalism today. Maybe obliterated describes the state of journalism today. No more chosen few for us. We're dropping, not really dropping the chosen few, but we're going to have a big announcement. We're adding to it. We're moving on to bigger and better things. Right. So it's been 1 year since the debate debacle that upended last year's election. We're going to talk quite a bit about that. Yep. We're going to find out the one word that is causing a health crisis in the black community. Yes, there is a word that apparently is leading to all kinds of disease, death, even destruction, apparently.
That must be powerful, that word.
And then the last thing I have on my list for our coming up is a tug test, Bob. A tug test. Okay, this better not get perverted, Bob.
It's not perverted. It's a real
you
thing.
have to explain a tug test without using your usual exotic language there.
Yes.
Yeah,
Trucker
all
Bob's
of that.
going to explain a tug test.
Yeah, we're going to save that one for Pet Peeves, everybody's favorite segment. All of that and more coming up on Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia.
Welcome to Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia. Everyone else has a podcast, why not us? Come along and join the chosen few as we mock the media and ridicule the ridiculous. Get ready as we excite the ears, irritate the eyes, and tantalize the taste buds. Okay, maybe not the taste buds, but you get the point. Let's get the party started. Here's Steve Barrett and Bob Baxa.
Bob, I'm getting disappointed. I didn't realize that this podcasting thing was going to be work.
Right.
It is starting to seem to me like work.
Right.
And
when
today,
are we going to get our money? When will we be getting our large sums of money? I mean, my best girl is saying that she's really ready for me to buy her a new Lexus. So I'm looking for that cash, but I haven't seen it yet.
No check in the mail yet.
Nothing.
But I gave them my address. So,
all right, me too.
And I don't even know who them is.
Right.
I gave them my address to send me checks. So hopefully that's going to start. But Bob, real quick, you didn't even know this one was coming. I just had a moment right before we started recording because I went up to open up the pool for my best girl. When you live in Minnesota and you have a swimming pool, you have to have a swimming pool cover, right? Because it will never get to a temperature ever that is worth getting into a swimming pool. So I'm pulling the cover off, and I'll be darned if there's not a large rat floating dead in the pool. So shh, this isn't going to air. This isn't going out until Tuesday, so she will never find out that I just fished a rat out of the pool. But I'm glad that I did it because she would come screaming to me in the middle of the podcast recording, and that would be horrible. So we wouldn't want to do that.
No, that'd be bad.
But we're going to talk a lot. We're going to start talking more about how we podcast. We got up. We got up today and started making our rundown, and it's become a fun learning curve for us, Bob. It really has.
We're getting better. I think we're getting a lot better at this, and it'll just continue to get better. The chosen few have been with us. You're going to find out what that's going to segue into, and things are just going to keep getting better. And then eventually, Spotify is going to write us each a check for like $20 million.
Is that who they them is?
Yes, it's Spotify.
They are they them. Okay.
And they may get into a bidding war with like Apple Podcasts or something. So, and then we'll have to play them against each other.
We definitely want a bidding war coming up. But we will tell you what. So here's the deal. This is the 19th. Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia podcast, even though we're on like number 23 if you add in some of the specialty podcasts, the interviews and things like that. But so this is specifically number 19 that we're recording right now, which means next week at this time we'll be recording number 20.
Nice.
And we've been calling our listeners the chosen few.
Yes.
Really, the reason for that is because they are literally chosen.
Yes,
and for a
we
while
chose
there,
them.
they
We
were
called
a
them
few.
up.
We
and
called
said,
them
Can
up.
you listen to our podcast, please?
We emailed and texted and said, please listen to our
Which
podcast.
is not the way that most professional podcasts, they don't actually call each of their listeners and say, could you do us a favor and listen?
But we
please?
did. So most of it,
that's-
like if you're listening out there and you don't actually know us, or you're not like at least maybe a Facebook friend or a follower
Right. We're
on Twitter
happy
or
to have
something
you.
on
Thank
X.
you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, please. And you are part of the chosen few.
No
but
doubt.
we're going to lose the chosen few moniker in a way. We're not going to tell you what you're going to be called, but we have a great name coming up. But we're going to reveal that in episode 20, which
Sweet.
we're recording, as I said, next week. So between episode 19 and episode 20, we want all of the chosen few. Anybody listening to this podcast right now, if episode 20 hasn't come out yet, we want you to email us because we're putting you on a super special list of the original chosen few. You are the OGs of the Barrett and Baxa radio network here. So you've heard everything up until now, and you're going to get benefits for that. For example, when all the merch comes out and people are sporting their Barrett and Baxa t-shirts and their hats and all of that, we're going to send you free stuff. And when
probably
we're
signed, maybe signed.
Right. And when
we'll
like when we do our residency in Vegas, our live Barrett and Baxa residency coming up in a year or two or whenever, well, you'll get like free tickets or at least maybe like 5% discount on a ticket.
Or I was even going to say, like, no, you know how a lot of times the fan club people get like a 5-minute meet and greet with us backstage? You guys are going to get like 7 minutes. Like, you'll get an extra 2 minutes at the meet and greet. And, you know, that's pretty big deal.
For the chosen few, anyone in the chosen few, when I sign my name on something, I'll add my middle initial. So then you'll have a special. You'll have the M, Stephen M. Barrett, instead of just Steve Barrett.
Nice.
But here's what we want you to do, and we literally want you to do this. It is barrettandbaxa@gmail.com, the most popular email address in the world. barrettandbaxa@gmail.com. You can remember that, and we just want you to send us an email. Make the subject line chosen few and just say, I'm one of the chosen few, because we actually are going to put you on a big list, and we're going to keep that list. And those are our very, very first listeners and fans. And we appreciate all of you, like Rich Nodelman. He's my guy down in Delray Beach. Well, I can't forget Bob Zlakis, too. He's also my other guy down.
Jordan.
But we have... But listen,
Bob,
what I love is we have a lot of people that call us and say, dude, I've listened to every episode, man,
I know.
and it's great.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
People like it. And so now, after episode 20, Bob, we are really going to start to make a push to get people that we don't actually know and haven't called up on the phone or texted or something like that. So it's about to blow up, people.
Explode.
So we need your emails. Okay.
Please. All right, so can I jump into my my little clarification of what I
is this a statement from the office of Bob Baxa?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a statement from the office of Bob Baxa.
Office of Bob Baxa. We have
a statement. There it is. Nice. All right. So last week we had your friend who said that I was a caricature of a Trump supporter, and I said, that's funny, Wade. That's funny. Yes, I am. This whole thing is a comedy podcast. It's a joke, blah, blah, blah. And then my aunt, who I'm very close to, she's only 10 years older than me. She's a radical far-left lunatic lefty. She is not a fan of the B&B. She does sometimes listen.
But does she like me?
Related to me. She does
she like me?
You. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She doesn't like the bro-ness. She made a word called bro-ness. She doesn't like the bro-ness of the B&B. And she said, you're less bro than I am. I'm more bro than you are. So I think bro is an insult in her mind. So
I would want to be more bro than you. I would think that I'm more bro than you are, dude.
For the liberals, bro is bad. But
I'm super bro.
She pointed out, and she's right, that yes, I am joking a lot of the time, but I really do believe these things I'm saying. First of all, I am 100% MAGA. I absolutely am. And when I say MAGA, that means America first. I'm a nationalist. I think that the word white nationalist. I know that's thought of as like KKK or something, but I don't think of it that way. I'm a white guy and I'm a nationalist. I don't see anything bad about that. I put my country first, America first. Every single thing we do should be done with the thought process of how does this help Americans. So I believe all of that. Yes, I am super bro, in the words of my liberal aunt. And that's an insult, I know, to the left. But so none of that is a joke. I absolutely think Trump's doing a fantastic job. I love other conservatives. I love being conservative. And I truly do despise the left. And let me just read you. This is why I despise the left. And this is a perfect example. I just saw this morning. So obviously we're going to talk about the Supreme Court decisions that just came down. All the big decisions. They went in Trump's favor. Big wins for Trump. So apparently some woman was posting on TikTok celebrating the wins. And so some guy wrote this comment to her. He said, "You should celebrate by taking a jog with your headphones on. Maybe we will get lucky and get a new Lake in Riley. I mean, a much older and used up version, but hopefully the same end result." Now, think about that comment. This guy, first of all, he's insulting this woman's
I'm going to show it while you're talking about it. I'm showing it. Okay.
He's insulting this woman's physical appearance while at the same time fantasizing that she get raped and murdered. And this is the left. So you guys can say that we're crazy on the right, we're crazy MAGA Trump supporters, but this is you. Now, I don't... Is every Democrat like this mental case? I don't know. The ones that I see, yes, they all are like this. They're all insane. You just put a freaking communist into the Democrat nomination in New York City. We're going to talk about that too. So, yes, I am 100% on board with Trump's agenda. I am 100% America first. And every single policy, immigration, great. Let's have immigration if the people coming in are going to help our country. Why would we let crappy, low-quality people come into our country? Like, how does that help our country?
Right,
what is
but
wrong?
I think your point, though, is that while you are that passionate, you are not wishing rape and murder on anyone.
Right. So I'm less crazy than you people. This guy's wishing rape and murder on this woman that he disagrees with. I'm not wishing violence.
It is a horrible statement, but
yeah.
Okay, yes, there's
horrible.
Extreme on both sides, Bob, but I do believe that you're correct when you point out that the extreme is worse on the left.
Much worse. I mean, the violence and all the violence that I've seen in the last several years. And, of course, the very next thing out of your mouth, January 6th, January 6th. Okay, that's how I know that all the violence is on your side, because you're still using a 5-year-old event. Give me 3 other conservative riots that have happened since January 6th.
The top 3.
Give me your top 3. Conservatives behaving badly. And we know you can't because there is none. Every single day there's leftist violence. There is no conservative violence. There was one day people did some dumb shit. As far as I'm concerned, it was trespassing and freaking vandalism. That's it. And you guys are still obsessing over it 5 years later. So I'm just, I'm America first. I don't understand. Why is let me ask you this. We didn't really talk about this, but Steve, why is the United States, and for that matter, all the white majority Western nations, why are we required to take in people from the third world? Why is that? Why do we have to take these people in with no limits whatsoever?
Well, it's been the position of the left for many, many years, and they tried to shove it down America's throat.
Right.
So
How does
much
it help
that
our
it's
country?
now, I think it's now backfiring and the pendulum is swinging in another direction.
Yes.
And now we're seeing, so now they're throwing temper tantrums because they got their way for so long and now they're not getting their way. It's like letting your kid eat pizza every single night and then suddenly
and then you
give him some
away.
broccoli.
Right.
They're not going to be happy with it. So we're giving them broccoli now.
Yes, this is audible broccoli. The answer on the left is going to be, well, the United States is very wealthy. Okay, I agree. The United States is very wealthy.
For a reason.
Let me give you two countries, Japan and Saudi Arabia. Those are 2 countries that are ultra wealthy. Japan has virtually no immigration at all. There are no black people in Japan. I lived in Japan. The black people that are in Japan are the Marines that are stationed there, the Army and Navy and Air Force service members and their families. Those are the only black people in Japan. Japan is not letting
and the only white people in Japan.
Yeah, are the American service members. Japan is 99% Japanese. They're not letting in African refugees, and they're not letting in Haitian refugees. So why aren't they required? Saudi Arabia, same thing.
I think they don't. I mean, Japan is an island, and if you put too many people on an island,
Hank Johnson,
it could flip over.
Yes.
You
that
never
is a good
know.
point.
Yeah.
Do you know, I don't know if you've ever seen this. If you look at an overlay of Japan and you overlay it on the eastern United States, Japan actually goes from Maine all the way to Florida. It's a lot bigger than, it's a lot bigger than people think. It's not a small island, but it is an island, sure. But Saudi Arabia, another example of an ultra-wealthy country that allows in virtually no third world refugees. So why are we
you can go as a tourist. You're welcome to go there.
Yeah, and then you get
and they're
get
probably
out when
pretty
your
nice.
visa.
I've never been to Japan, so I don't or Saudi Arabia.
Well, I thought you meant Saudi Arabia, but yeah, you can go to Japan as a tourist, and when your visa's up, you get out. They throw you out. I mean, there's no overstaying your visa. They are ultra strict, and it's just very curious to me. Why are we and other Western, white majority Western countries such as Western Europe and the United States and Canada and Australia? We are required
because we've been
to
fed
take
this guilt complex.
Right.
We've
it's
been
bullshit.
told
I'm not
that
guilty.
we're so wrong for so long.
Yes.
And we did
that we have
such
to make it
horrible
up.
things that we have to make up for it. Like
that's the answer
one of the
right
things
there.
coming up, changing the names of streets in Canada. We'll get to that. that's a good one.
So anyway, there's my rant.
So
that was from my Aunt Pam. She wanted to make it clear to all our listeners.
Hi, Aunt Pam.
Yeah, hi, Pam. Even
We
though
love
I
you.
say that I'm
And
joking around, I do
I'm
love her.
more of a
even though-
bro. I'm more of a
you're
bro
less.
than Bob.
You're less bro.
I want to be more of a bro.
You say you're more bro. She says you're less bro, but in her mind, bro is an insult. She correctly points out that, yes, I am trying to make people laugh, but I also believe all these things I'm saying.
But you're also trying to make people cry.
Yes. Don't think for a second that I'm not fully MAGA. I don't support our fantastic, wonderful president, and will continue to support him as he continues winning. Speaking of winning, let's talk about some of Trump's wins.
The show's not all about you, bro.
I know. Sorry, bro.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to this word of the week. The word of the week is obliterated. So Trump comes out and says that that the nuke facilities have been obliterated, and suddenly it becomes this big argument in the mainstream media over is he right and was it obliterated? But you make this fantastic point that before the bombing, the narrative was, well, how do you know that they have anything?
Right. Do you
and then
remember that?
after the bombing, when he said it's been obliterated, they said, well, wait a second. I think they still have nuclear capability. So suddenly they went from not having nuclear capability before the bombing to having nuclear capability after the bombing. How's that happen?
Because I love when the left's bullshit, that their current bullshit doesn't jibe with their previous bullshit. Like their own bullshit doesn't mesh up with the bullshit that they were saying yesterday. So yeah, before Trump bombed them, it was, oh, Iran isn't that close to nuclear weapons. You're exaggerating. They're probably nowhere near nuclear weapons. And then Trump bombed them, and they pivoted 180 degrees overnight, and it was like, oh my God, Iran's nuclear weapons were not obliterated.
They weren't destroyed. Trump's lying.
Perfectly. So they're going to go off at any moment. And it's like, wait, dude, 7 seconds ago you said that they don't even have them, and now all of a sudden, now they not only have them, but they're about to be used. Like, it's just...
They're 3 months. Now they're 3 months away. We only set them back 3 months. Well, if we set them back 3 months, and we'll debate how to say Iran in a minute, but because that's another debate, not just obliterated. But so if we say that we just knocked them back 3 months, well, then how close were they?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, 3 months. So we set them back 3 months when they had 3 years to go. So it's now 3 years and 3 months. No,
who knows?
It is. It is
a
bullshit.
lot of this. There was a memo leaked from the DIA that was a low confidence memo. And see, this is what the media does. they pick and choose. If something is leaked that makes Trump look bad, that immediately jumps to the front of the pile, and that is hammered over and over and over. But if something is leaked that makes Trump look good, that's nobody knows if that's even real. Come on, that's bullshit. Or they just ignore it. They don't even cover it at all. So the media at this point, I really think that there are people in the media that are hoping for Iran to have a nuclear weapon and to use it. So then they could point and say, see, Trump got us nuked. It's all Trump's fault. I really do think that. Oh, nice.
So, but we talked about pronouncing Iran. Is it Iran or is it Iran? Is it
the official, from what I understand, Iran, flock of seagulls. How about that? From the 80s. The official pronunciation is Iran. Iran. I refuse to say that. So, but you're also, apparently, a lot of people say Iran. I don't think it's Iran. I think what I'm going to go with is Iran. Iran. Like EHRON. Iran.
Okay,
just like Iraq, Iran.
Yeah.
I'm going with that.
I just threw it up on the screen here. This is the AI overview of my Google search.
Yeah, Iran.
And I just said how to pronounce. And it says Iran. And then it goes on to say some people pronounce it Iran. But this is generally considered incorrect in English. So generally, we should not say Iran. So we solved a problem here today.
All right, but I refuse to say Iran. I'm going to do my own. So basically, I'm just saying that I refuse to listen to that, and I'm going to do my own pronunciation. That's kind of in between those.
What if we took the two and we called it Iran? Iran.
Like iRobot.
Iran.
Yeah. Isn't Ron Hubbard the guy who started Scientology?
That's L. Ron Hubbard.
That's boy. Talk about a topic.
Ooh, there's
a
whole show, dude. Let's do it. I used to live down in the St. Petersburg, Clearwater area. Yeah. Man, so as a journalist down there, when you would show up down there in the downtown Clearwater area, and you would start taking video of their buildings and their facilities down there,
they got pissed.
They would approach you as fast as a mall cop would.
Wow.
Like you show up at the mall, the mall cop wants to know what you're doing with the TV camera.
Yeah.
When you show up in downtown Clearwater, the Scientologists want to know what you're doing.
I would love to know their whole... I mean, we've talked about how I see Amish people all the time, and they're kind of fascinating to me, but the Amish really kind of makes sense. Like, they just want to live like it's 1860. They don't want to live in a modern way. And so if the power ever goes out for 6 months, the Amish are fine. Like, their life will not change at all. But Scientology, that's a whole different thing. And I know that L. Ron Hubbard was actually on record as saying, if you want to make real money in the United States, start a religion because it's not taxable. And so, I don't know, the whole thing, maybe he's, maybe we're going to have Tom Cruise coming after us with a lawsuit for
he'll send us the. Well, you know what they used to do?
Why is Tom Cruise?
No, I'm not kidding. They would fax bomb you. Like they would get your fax machine and they would they would endlessly fax you things when they were mad. Disney used to be almost as bad. Yeah, the media people from Disney would always call you too. Down in
we
Florida.
weren't allowed to fly over in the helicopter.
Yeah, if you said anything wrong about Disney, man, they would go crazy. Don't say anybody died at Disney World. It never happens, you know what I mean?
Do you remember that we had to, if you wanted to fly over Disney in the helicopter, you had to be 1,000 feet, which is very high in a helicopter. And at Universal, you could be 300 feet. And it was nothing to do with any sort of safe. To be honest, a helicopter is not any more or less safe at a certain height. It was just the noise. They didn't want the noise of helicopters, and Disney is so powerful that they got their own air restriction, which was always very strange to me. But anyway.
So, well, speaking of restrictions, we went off on a tangent there. I'm going to bring it back because I'm so professional at this and I'm so skilled.
You are good at this.
Yeah, I am good at this. So we're coming back to, one of the things with the Iran bombing was that Trump didn't get congressional approval. Yeah. But boy, didn't that backfire in liberal media's face, because then everyone started pointing out that basically every president prior to Donald Trump has bombed without congressional approval. I think it was since the Vietnam War?
Yes.
No president has gotten congressional approval.
Right.
We have a clip here, and this is just someone who basically posted the number of bombs that President Obama dropped during his time in office.
Okay, cool.
These are the countries that Obama bombed in his final year of office. Syria, 12,192 times. Iraq, 12,095 times. Libya, 496 times. Yemen, 35 times. Somalia, 14 times. And Pakistan, 3 times. 26,172 bombs for a total of 3 bombs every hour of every day in only 1 year.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that many. 26,000 and something bombs.
Yeah, 26. And
Wow.
I did Google this one just to make
and
sure
it's
that
right?
this person is being accurate. And yes, it does appear that they are accurate, at least according to Yahoo News, which, yeah, it's a left-leaning
Yeah, I think it's
news.
believable.
You know,
Yeah. And
so
the
yeah,
same
so
media-
and
they said nothing.
none of these times did he get
No.
congressional approval to do this.
No. Can you imagine how stupid it would be? I mean, if there's like Osama bin Laden in a cave and the president wants to bomb the cave, if he had to go to Congress and then they dithered about it for the next 6 weeks while, back and forth and, Chuck Schumer said this and Mitch McConnell said that, I mean, it would be so ridiculous. Of course, the commander-in-chief has to have the power to take immediate action, and of course he does. Do you know the last war that was actually declared by Congress, the last time Congress declared war was 1942. That was the last time Congress actually officially issued a congressional declaration of war. Now, think about how much killing has happened since 1942 using American troops on the ground. A little thing called Korea, Vietnam, the first Gulf War, the second Gulf War, like how, Grenada, all this stuff that's gone on. There's been a lot of warlike activity, and none of it was declared.
Well, and for Obama, you could call him the bomber-in-chief, really.
Yeah.
He even, and you pointed this one out to me, and I looked it up, and you were correct, as you often are, Bob. It's just amazing.
you.
Usually I think you just don't know anything, but normally I'm wrong,
Sometimes I
and
do
you're
know
right.
stuff.
So I want to show you this real quick. This is an article, and this is from ABC News, so we're talking about a left-leaning news. So Obama was actually proud and joked about his bomb dropping.
Yes.
So, and ABC News here in an article from May 2010 is asking, was President Obama's Predator drone joke about the Jonas Brothers offensive? So I'll set it up a little bit for you. So there must have been something about the Jonas Brothers were sitting at the dinner and Sasha
About them
and
dating,
yeah.
yes.
So they were huge fans. But and here's his quote here. He says, Sasha and Malia are huge fans, but boys, don't get any ideas. 2 words for you: Predator drones. You will never see it coming. Can you imagine? Imagine Donald Trump making
that's what I
that
was gonna
same
say.
joke?
Think about that for a second. This guy dropped 26,000 bombs, Obama. He's making a cute, Obama, yeah, you're joking about bombing. That's so funny. You silly. You're just joking about your daughters. Imagine the media freak out. I mean, I really would love to think, I would love to see the level of media freak out. The inappropriateness, if Donald Trump had made a joke, like if yesterday he said, I got really tired of that restaurant. I might bomb them the way I bombed Iran. They'd be screaming about the inappropriateness and people died. How dare he make jokes like that? And Obama can just make a joke about bombing the Jonas Brothers, and it's just super funny and silly and cute. I mean, it's just another example.
Yeah, it's another example of super silly and cute is your average "Death to America" chant over in Iran. Yeah,
right.
So that's really cute, according to CNN at least. Like it's just a nice, friendly "Death to America" chant. So let's just listen for. Wait.
Okay.
So this is Dana Bash talking to Erin Burnett, and she's talking about being in Iran. And they're chanting behind her "Death to America," and apparently Erin Burnett thought it was sweet. It was nice. Death to America. Here we go.
I remember, Dan, at one point being in Tehran years ago, and they're chanting death to America all around me, even as I say, oh, I'm an American reporting for CNN, and they were happy to speak to me. So that those two is sort of jarring realities of the chant, and yet the friendliness have existed together.
All right, well, that was that's one of your friendlier death to America moments.
Yeah, it's
just a friendly death to America.
They bend over backwards to try to take a position that's bad for these people. They just hate this country so much, and this brings me back to the left. Obviously, these reporters are all on the left, and I really do think that most of them strongly dislike our country. They think it's a bad place. They think it's a racist place, a misogynistic place, and they just don't really think this is a great country. I don't even think they think it's a good country.
I want to know how many of them believe that deep down, or they just are using this because, rules for radicals and all of these books, all of the teaching of the left says that you have to demonize. That's how you get power back. That's how you win your power, is by demonizing. So are they demonizing for that reason?
That's a good question.
It's like this argument that Muslims vote Democrat and vote left because they want to see society unravel. Right. And it's the policies of the left that cause society, Western society, to unravel. And then that weakens Western society. And then other populations who want religious rule, Sharia law, whatever, can easily come in and take over. Like the city of Minneapolis right now, blasting the prayer,
I just
the
saw
calls
a
for
thing.
prayer.
They went down the list of major cities in England, and it was like London. I can't name the cities, but it was like you've heard of every one of these cities in the UK, and it was like this one, Muslim mayor, right down the list, like 8 or 10 large British cities have Muslim mayors, and they really are. They're having 8 and 10 and 12 children. The British people are having 1 or 2 children or 0, and it's just simple math. Like, Islam is playing the long game, and they are absolutely looking to take over the world. I 100% believe that. And your question about the reporters, it's a great question. I haven't really thought about it. I think some of them really do hate America. I think some are like my aunt, or even like my best girl's relative, who they really have good intentions. Like, they want to help people, and they think that these kinds of policies are going to help people, but they don't realize, like, I always go back to the sign at Yellowstone, don't feed the bears. When you feed the bears will stop finding food on their own and will rely on humans for their food. This is bad for the bears and bad for the humans. And it's the same thing. When you do everything for people, they will stop doing things for themselves. Like, there is a way to help someone up, but not do it all for them. And that's where conservatism comes in, is to teach a guy how to do it for himself. There's nothing worse than a guy who's just receiving everything from the government. Like, it just destroys you as a man, as a human, I think. So, I don't know. I think
What if
really...
I just stop talking? I want to see, Bob. What if I just stop talking and see how long
I would go
like
forever.
To go? You would go forever. You like have an endless stream of consciousness that just flows from your brain right out your mouth through your tongue, and it's perfect. I love it. No, it makes my job. I always say this. It makes my job easy, man.
One time I was on the phone with Aunt Pam, and she at one point she got frustrated, and she was like, "Do you even need me on this phone conversation?" And I was like,
"Do you even need me on this podcast, Bob?"
I do need you on this podcast, yes. And I said to her, I do need you on the conversation. But yes, I have been known to talk a lot, but this has been going on since I was in the womb. And it will not be stopping anytime soon. So I'll shut up. Steve's
All right.
turn. Go.
All right, we're going to burn through a couple more topics here. Another big story of the week: the Supreme Court came down with just a massive decision that essentially takes these district court judges out of the way of the executive orders for Donald Trump.
And
everyone seems to be screaming about a birthright citizenship, but it really didn't. Make no mistake, it really didn't make any decision on birthright
it didn't
citizenship.
even address
That's going to have to be a separate case.
That's kicked down the road.
Right. It's just that's the executive order that they ended up getting all the way to the Supreme Court. And I think it's fantastic. I think these executive orders, this is what Americans voted for.
I got a stat. Barack Obama, in his entire 4-year term, Barack Obama had 6 nationwide injunctions issued against him. Biden, I think, had like 18. George W. Bush, it was like in the 20s, all right? In Trump's first term, 64. And in just this term, he's only been in office 6 months, 40. So in less than 5 years of being president, Donald Trump has had 104 nationwide injunctions. Think about that. What is the point of having a president if a judge in Massachusetts can step in and completely kill his agenda? I mean, it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So this was the right decision for sure.
And it got that very rare rebuke from Amy Coney Barrett against Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Right. And who doesn't know what a woman is. She's not a biologist. I mean, you don't.
But for me, it begs the question: do all of our Supreme Court justices have to? The females have to go 3-name now.
It's Supreme Court justices and also serial killers must have, like Lee Harvey Oswald.
3 names.
They all have to. John Wilkes Booth. It has to be 3 names if you're a Supreme Court justice or a serial killer. But yes. She rebuked. I feel like I have something stuck in my teeth. Sorry, folks, but that's probably
I can see it there.
Yeah.
I see it. Good thing anybody not watching YouTube.
So
it's been 1 year, or we just marked the 1-year anniversary of the debate debacle for Joe Biden. We have a clip on that one because prior to that debate,
here's Joe right here. Look, here he is. There's Joe.
Mary,
that's what he looked
stand
like
up, stand up so we can see it. Mary 4th of the thing.
The thing.
The thing.
Great.
So leading up to this, if nobody remembers, I'm telling you, everyone was talking about how well prepared Joe Biden was going to be. He left. I mean, no one heard from Joe Biden for a week before this debate. He didn't give a press conference. There was no statement coming out from him.
Nothing.
He basically sheltered himself away to prepare for this. And journalists thought, he's just ready to beat the crap out of Donald Trump. Trump was going to get his
ass kicked. That's what they were literally saying, how bad Trump was going to lose. All right, let's listen to. So funny.
Let's listen to Morning Schmo talk about this.
Okay.
And a few other journalists.
Okay, good.
Trump is scared out of his mind. He's whining and whimpering because Joe Biden may just beat him really badly.
Joe Biden outmaneuvered Donald Trump. The timing of this debate, the rules of this debate, those were all set by Joe Biden because Donald Trump allowed it to happen. Joe Biden's team, I think, really outsmarted and outmaneuvered Donald Trump. And if he goes on to lose, there will be one person to blame, Donald Trump.
He's debating not just Donald Trump. Obviously, it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. He's debating the caricature that they've set of Joe Biden. And so a lot of this and so much of this is just expectation setting. And he has to clear a very low bar, frankly, which is get up there, be attentive, be assertive for 90 minutes, and bypass this bizarre characterization that they've created of you as someone who's got to be hopped up on Mountain Dew or whatever other drug that they suggest you have to take, and let, again, the focus be on Trump.
That is so good.
Yes.
So you know what occurred to me as I'm watching that? Obviously we knew Biden was senile. I knew Biden was senile in 2016, But if you're a person who doesn't really pay that careful attention and you only watch MSNBC and you don't even really watch MSNBC very often, just occasionally. So you see something like that and you're like, oh, Biden's great. He's gonna kick Trump's ass. And then you tune in, knowing what we know now, you tune into what actually happened. Think about how shocked those people, and that it really is a disservice that the media does by lying like that.
And they set him up the whole week like, well, one of the things they're trying to talk about is that, oh, well, Republicans have talked down Joe Biden so much that Joe Biden doesn't even have to really do anything as long as he just stands there for 90 minutes and is coherent. But he couldn't even do that.
He couldn't even do that
part of it. And he made the biggest fool of himself, and then it all collapsed around him, and we ended up with Kamala Harris.
Right. What do you think about, there is a theory out there that the powers that be knew, just like everyone, clearly knew Biden was senile, knew he was not up to the job. They wanted him to step down. He was refusing to step down. And so they set that debate up purposely knowing he would fuck it up that bad. And they made it late at night. I mean, I'm 59. I cannot function at 9 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock, I've been in bed for an hour. Like, I do not do anything. If you have an event that's starting at 9, I will not be attending. I can assure you. I am
noon to 6, man.
Yeah,
noon to 6
and we're
is my
20
functional
years younger.
time.
Yeah, we're 20 years younger than him. So by making it so late at night, and did they purposely set him up for failure? I think it's absolutely possible.
Absolutely, I think you're right. And I mean, I knew what was coming. I remember sitting and watching that debate, going, Biden is never ever going to be able to make it through this debate.
No.
Without just stepping all over himself. And that's exactly what he did.
It was so bad. It was so painful. It really, and it brings us back to the person who is to blame is Jill Biden. Like, any woman who puts her dementia husband into that situation is an evil woman. That's it. There's nothing else to say. She is an evil woman for putting Joe through that. It's her fault. It really is. She could have stepped in at any time and said, look, I'm his wife. I don't care what you say. He's not running. That's it. And she could have put the kibosh on the whole thing. And she didn't because she wanted to be first lady. That's it. That's all there is to it.
And so what we got was the rest of the term played out with the auto pen.
Yep. And who knows?
Which in the last week or so, we've had some hearings on that.
Yep.
And the coverage of those hearings has been, let's call it, lackluster.
Yeah.
From the left-leaning media. We were reading a article that I'm going to share with you right now.
Okay.
And it is, let's see here. Let me get this up real quick, Bob, so that you can see it. Here it is, Newsbusters priorities. ABC, CBS, NBC spend 0 seconds on Biden's auto pen.
Right.
They spend 229 minutes on the Karen Reed trial. That's just absurd. 0 seconds.
It's a local murder trial.
They get away with that?
How does someone in Kansas how are they affected by any murder in Massachusetts? I mean, obviously murder is a serious crime, but murder is a local crime. It affects that local community. A person in Nebraska is not affected by a local murder trial in Massachusetts. Now, a person in Nebraska is affected by a senile president who is not making decisions. And we don't know who is making the decisions. So, that's clearly the more important story. But, of course, the media don't like to cover things that make Democrats look bad.
You're listening to Barrett and Baxa, Media Schmedia. Real stories, raw takes, and the slow, strange death of traditional media.
Hey, I'm Rico Monaco. The music you hear on the Barrett and Baxa show, intros and breaks, that's me. I'm a guitarist, songwriter, producer, band leader, and music instructor. I performed across the U.S. and Europe, Paris, Italy, New York City, San Francisco, Miami, Dallas, Cabo, won awards and shared stages with legends like Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony of Van Halen and Tito Puente Jr. My music fuses rock and Latin, in a powerful, original way. You can hear it on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and more. If you enjoy it, like, follow, comment, and share. It truly helps. Let me know what songs or videos hit you most. And you can contact us through our website, www.ricomonaco.com, for shows, festivals, events. Much love to Steve and Bob, and to all of you from Orlando, Florida.
So it turns out Hunter Biden can't pay his attorneys. Are we surprised by that?
No, we are not surprised. Where is that guy going to get money from? I've always wondered, like, this is the downside of fame. Like, if you're, like, when I needed to go out and find a job, you know, I was able to just become a truck driver. But Hunter Biden can't become a truck driver. Like, he clearly can't do that. He's too
lost
famous.
His law license.
Right.
He's,
I say he's back on drugs, probably. I mean, he might be. I have no knowledge of that, but he very well could be back on drugs. But I feel bad for a guy like that. His whole life was just being the bag man for Joe Biden, and that has now dried up. And this is why they still have Joe out there making a fool out of himself, because I think they need the money from speaking engagements.
Yeah, I wonder if the Bidens are going to get desperate as the years progress here, because he can't do speaking engagements. So it's not like he can get $100,000 or $200,000 for giving a speech.
Maybe
because
Jill
no one's
can get money. Maybe.
Hopefully, she might have to go back to teaching.
She was such a good teacher. But I don't know.
But then the teachers have quotas now, so they have the DEI quotas. So we can't do that either. Speaking of on drugs, are the people of New York on drugs?
I really think they are.
What is going on with Zohran Mamdani?
We saw this movie in Chicago, and in fact, the Chicago Tribune wrote an op-ed warning New York that we have seen the ending of this movie, and it's Brandon Johnson, who we have mocked many times. I mean, Lori Lightfoot was running in Chicago. She was done.
And she was an embarrassment.
She was horrible. She was radical far left. And so Chicago votes for a guy who tells you, I'm more left than Lori Lightfoot. He gets voted into office, and now, a year later, he's got a 6% approval rating, which, how do you have a 6% approval? And New York is going down the same path. Like, they're voting for a guy who openly talks about wanting to get rid of the police. Like, how do you... And it's just... He's a perfect example of what rich white people think is good for a city.
Yeah, and he's talking about rent controls, and he's talking about privatizing grocery stores.
Right.
You can't get investors to come to town. So I know some people who do some real estate investing in the New York City area, and they're all, from what I'm hearing, very scared about what would happen if this guy gets in. And now it comes down to this crazy battle between Cuomo, Eric Adams, and this guy. So, Bob, one of the big questions now is, how does this election play out moving forward now that the Democrats have chosen him as their man? So Cuomo says, or is suggesting, and his people are, that he's going to run it as an independent. But Eric Adams is also running as an independent. So at least in an article that I read, the thinking is that Eric Adams, if he were to drop out, that Cuomo could still beat Mamdani.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if Adams stays in, that the two will steal votes from each other, and he will win.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mamdani.
Right. I think one of them clearly has to drop out, either Cuomo or his face, Eric Adams. Yeah, they're going to have to drop out, because there's going to clearly be an anti-socialist, anti-communist vote, and you can't have two normal Democrats. So they're going to have to come to some agreement where one of them gets out, so the other one can possibly beat him. I don't know. In New York, it's a well-known thing that if you have a D next to your name, that's it. You win. So, but then again, Rudy Giuliani did win. So,
long time ago. But are we starting to see the trend of Democrats saying, okay, I'm going to abandon the Democrat Party for now in name and call myself an independent? Because here you've got two well-known candidates who are either doing it or seriously considering doing it, running as a Democrat.
Well, you know who stuck up for Mamdani, of course, Jessica Tarloff. She was like, he's so joyful. Just everything he says is joyful when he talks. Of course, the things he's going to give free. Whenever the left uses the word free, it cracks me up because nothing is free. When they say free, what they mean is I'm going to take money from you and use it to give shit to your neighbor that he doesn't have to pay for. You're going to pay for the shit I give to your neighbor. So it's not free. It's paid for by you for him. And that's communism. Taking from some, giving to others is the very definition of communism. And that's what this guy is. I mean, this guy, did you see the quote? He said he wants to heavily tax the richer, whiter neighborhoods. He actually said whiter.
Richer, whiter neighborhoods.
Yes. Imagine if a white candidate said, man, we need to do something in these blacker neighborhoods, boy. They are really a problem. Some of these blacker neighborhoods, we really got to do something about that. Imagine that.
But it's the whiter people that are voting for him.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Only the white people want to get, if you go to any poor black neighborhood in any city in America and say, do you want fewer police or more police? I promise you that talk to, a 60-year-old black woman who works as a maid or something, and she's living in an apartment in a very dangerous 100% black neighborhood. She would love it if there was a cop outside her door and outside the door of every apartment in her building. Like, she wants more and more and more and more cops. Like, this woman does not want fewer cops, believe me. And yet the rich white people on the Upper West Side and the Upper East Side are like, yeah, we need to stop arresting so many black people. That's the problem. They're just, they're so stupid. Liberal white people are the worst. I hate them so much. God, they ruined this country. Oh, I'm so fired up.
You are.
So annoyed.
You are. Speaking of mayors, but this is a vice mayor.
Yeah.
This week, this Cynthia Gonzalez Cadeni.
Okay.
Cadeni.
She's in California city, right?
She is calling on gang members to come and protect their turf from the ICE agents.
Correct.
Let's play this one.
All right.
Mayor in California accused of calling on gangs to defend their territory against ICE agents. Sources tell Fox Cynthia Gonzalez Cadeni in Los Angeles County is under federal investigation for allegedly posting this video last week. Watch.
You guys tag everything up, claiming hood, and now that your hood's being invaded by the biggest gang there is, there ain't a peep out of you. It's everyone else who's not about the gang life that's out there protesting and speaking up. We're out there like fighting our turf, protecting our turf, protecting our people. And like, where you at?
That is unbelievable.
So she says, where are you at? You're tagging everything in the neighborhoods, but then when it comes down to it, you won't come and protect your people.
Yeah, make no mistake. From ICE. She's calling for violence. That is what she's calling. She's calling for gang members to physically attack federal law enforcement. She needs to be arrested. Like, that to me is an arrestable.
And she may be.
Yeah, that's an arrestable offense.
I don't know the law on that, but.
Well, she's getting a ton of pushback. But this is an elected Democrat calling for violence against law enforcement. It is
calling for gangs, criminal gangs, to rise up against ICE and attack them in American neighborhoods, in California neighborhoods.
Yeah, and it's just, I go back to this time and time again. If you don't like the law, any law, if you don't like the jaywalking law, you can change any law. Laws are changeable. You can change them to something else. You just have to get the votes in Congress. Congress changes the law. You can make it legal for every person in the world to come waltzing into our country. But the laws that are on the books right now must be enforced. That's it. It's not optional. And so, I mean, it's just so crazy, man. It really is.
And when the media covers these riots, these protests, we learned a little bit of something today from a local report. She's a local reporter here in the Minneapolis area, and she was talking to Tucker Carlson about covering the riots during the George Floyd period, back in
George
2020.
Floyd riots,
George Floyd riots. Her name's Liz Collins, and she was talking about working for CBS and what CBS was telling her in terms of who she should interview and what she should say, basically the terminology she should use to describe the protests. So let me play this one for you.
All right.
And even before George Floyd, you could see what the media was turning into. And that really bothered me on a moral and ethical level more than anything else. Into? Just not so much what we would tell the public anymore, but what we would not. How we would craft a story. I talk a lot about this in the book, but there were mandates after George Floyd that half of the people we interviewed had to be non-white or from a protected class. In the wake of
where did those mandates come from?
From what I understand, CBS News. You could not use the term riots at all in your reporting.
Actually?
Right. Just the way we would control the language and shape stories.
WCCO?
Correct.
So she's saying that, number one, half of her interviews, they're requiring half of the interviews to be non-white. Right? So half have to be minorities. They're saying they can't use the term riots.
Right.
And they're controlling the language.
Yeah, it's just a friendly gathering.
So I'm going to tell you a little story about WCCO. When I moved to Minneapolis the first time, I'm this, street reporter down in Orlando, and I'll walk into, any neighborhood and tell the real story about what the hell's going on in this neighborhood. I covered murders, I covered, fires and storms and hurricanes, whatever. But I came to Minneapolis thinking, okay, I'm going to move up to Minneapolis. I have been in this business for a very long time, and I'm very good at what I do, and I'm going to be able to get a job very quickly. There's this news director, and I don't even remember his name. I don't think his name is worth remembering. But there's a news director who interviewed me. The interview went great. We talked, and he was like, oh, my gosh, you have so much experience. You'd be a great addition to our newsroom. And then I didn't hear from him. And this guy didn't even have the balls to call me up and say, Steve, I'm not going to hire you because. So you know what he did? He at WCCO, he had their main anchor call me on the phone and say, Steve, here's the problem. You're just not the type of reporter that we have here in the Twin Cities. We're more about building the community up and talking about the good things about our community. And so they didn't want somebody coming and knocking on the mayor's door and asking tough questions. They didn't want somebody who would be out on the streets describing the real situation on the streets. So it doesn't surprise me that WCCO said, oh, we can't use the term riot, where Minneapolis was the worst in the whole nation.
Of course, those were riots.
Maybe Seattle or Portland, but Minneapolis was on fire. I was living here at the time. And one of the funny things that I would see every night, there'd be a riot. And then one day I decided I'm going to go down there and as a journalist and just look at it. I wasn't working for anybody at the time, but I was curious. So I went down there, and the streets were just filled with white people and their brooms and their garbage cans and garbage bags cleaning up the streets. And I looked at them and I thought, you people are coming down here with your guilt complex. You're trying to clean up the riot area so that they can do it again tonight, so that these crazy leftists can destroy it again. And it makes you feel better as a white Minnesotan to come and help clean up.
Correct. And they'll still vote for the Democrats that will allow those policies over and over again. Minnesota is essentially Canada. It's basically the same thing. And Minnesota is just, any state that puts Ilhan Omar in office, she openly despises America. She says it. We took this.
And part of the problem here in Minnesota, I can tell you, is that journalists don't do journalism.
Of course
they don't.
Not.
These television stations don't want to say bad things. If there's a horrible murder, it gets buried in the second block of the newscast. And it's a little short VO. And then the top of the newscast is going to be, well, how many walleye can you take this year? Boy, the DNR came out with some new regulations. You're going to be surprised at, how much you can take out on your local lake.
Right.
And that's their lead story.
Yeah, and of course...
Instead of the real problems in the community.
Correct. And any story that features black people behaving badly, that must be buried because of these kinds of people. They feel guilty. I mean, there's a certain type of white person that will just continue to feel guilty as they're being robbed by a black guy, will be saying, I hope you get everything you need. I hope I'm not causing you too much trouble with this robbery. I mean...
This is Rebecca Lobo, and she, I guess, Bob, you might know better than I do. She's a WNBA.
She's a famous, she played in the WNBA. She's a very well-known female basketball player, and now she's an announcer. So, yeah, she's very well-known.
And so this happened during a game the other day, and she's talking about having a disagreement with someone, and the way that she puts it, she likes, well, at first she says she likes living in America because that's one of the reasons that America's great is because you can disagree with people. Correct. But then she had second thoughts about all that. Let's play it for you.
All right.
I do, and I disagree with them, and that's fine. That's what makes America great, right, Pam Ward? I should rephrase that, yes. But yeah, I did think opinion are perfectly fine. That's a better way to say it. Sorry about that.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. That's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen.
And the dead silence there. It's as if she thought, "Oh, what horrifying thing did I say?
What have I done?" Yeah, I would love to have seen the faces.
I said that's what makes America great.
It is so unbelievable. So these people hate our country so much that when they accidentally point out something that maybe makes America great, they panic. I mean, she was clearly panicking in those 8 seconds. She was clearly freaking out in her mind saying, oh my God, what have I done? I can't believe I said that something could make America great. If you're an WNBA announcer, you are not allowed to say that anything ever is great about America. That's who the liberals are in this country. Right there. That's it.
And another example of using the wrong words is going to come from Jamal Bowman. I don't know why anyone would put him on TV, but one of our last clips that we're going to play for you today is Jamal Bowman trying to explain to us why one word that apparently is causing disease within the black community.
It causes everything bad in the black community. It's causing obesity and cancer. Who knew that one thing caused obesity and also cancer? I mean, that's kind of a medical marvel right there.
Let's hear Jamal Bowman, who was a congressman until he pulled a fire alarm and tried to stop a vote from happening, and then he lost his seat. But now CNN, see, that's what's so funny. CNN puts these people back on TV.
I know.
You know, how does Jeffrey Toobin get back on TV after playing with himself during a Zoom call? How does this happen in the media? This is a great example of the problem with the media today.
Can you imagine right now
Jamal
playing
Bowman
with
is
yourself
another example of this problem.
It's unbelievable.
We are not dealing with America's original sin and its disease of hate and racism towards black and brown people and sexism towards women and anti-LGBTQ sentiment. We are not dealing with that. Your colleagues in the Republican Party do not hold each other accountable when it comes to the racism that comes from the party on a consistent basis.
Congressman, I mean, where are you on
you can't be calm about this. I'm a black man in America. The reason why heart disease...
I'm white, I can't comment
Listen
on
to what I'm saying. The reason why heart disease and cancer and obesity and diabetes are bigger in the black community is because of the stress we carry from having to deal with being called the N-word directly or indirectly every day.
He is so full of shit. First of all, he is never called the N-word. But ever. And the reason we know this is because this guy walks around looking to be called the N-word. Like, he has his phone
except
ready.
maybe in the music that he's listening to on his way to work.
Exactly.
In his
He's
car.
called the N-word by other black people probably every day. There is no white person who's calling him the N-word. That is bullshit. That does not happen. There's nowhere in America that Jamal Bowman has white people yelling the N-word at him, because it would be on video if he did. And then my second question, how do you indirectly call someone the N-word?
Because I have no idea.
I might be accidentally doing it every day.
It's like white man code talk.
Tim Walz could tell us.
Tim could do it. Tim could do it indirectly.
Because what if right now we are indirectly calling black people the N-word? How would we know? I mean, I'd be horrified to learn that I was indirectly using the N-word. So Jamal Bowman is so full of shit. He is so racist, like every other Democrat, and he's projecting. He's the racist.
And we'll wrap up soon, but it leads me to this question: how in the hell does a producer with a straight face book this guy on CNN for a panel after everything that he's done? I don't understand how they make the decisions that they make over there, but
is it a brilliant decision? Because look at all the people that are talking about this appearance. So,
this idiot.
From that point of view,
how did this guy make it to Congress? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. He is very stupid.
All right, show's coming to a close here, Bob, but we have to do pet peeves first. I'll do mine. Okay. I've got one simple pet peeve, and I heard it on Fox News of all places. You know, I don't criticize them often, but in this case, they were talking about Brad Pitt apparently was burglarized, right? His house was burglarized, and they referred to it probably 6 different times as a robbery.
Right.
Journalists
That's different.
Journalists should know that a robbery happens to a person. A burglary happens to property. Unless there's someone there that has things physically taken from them and they are robbed of their possessions. Otherwise, it is a burglary, and that is theft.
Right.
Come on, journalists, get it together.
Exactly. And my pet peeve is teenagers who don't dress properly for the weather. I saw a kid, it was like 92 degrees. I saw a guy wearing jeans, a sweatshirt, and a knit hat in the summer. And then I've seen many times in the winter, it's 22 degrees, and there are 2 teenagers standing on the bus stop wearing shorts and T-shirts, shivering. They're shivering. I can see them shivering. And yet they do it, they dress like that anyway. So
I think teenagers have always been like that. But wait, Bob, you had 2 other things on your list, and I'm just curious if they're related. One, you injured yourself sleeping, and you also wanted to explain what a tug test is. So were you doing a tug test and you injured yourself?
No. I was just
how do
sleeping,
they relate?
and they're not related. I woke up and I was injured. That's just the fact that I'm 59.
Not doing a tug test.
No. I did not get injured doing a tug test. A tug test, real quick, I'll explain it for all the truck drivers out there will know it. When you back up under a trailer and you hook your truck to the trailer, you hook your tractor to the trailer, and there's a little pin that goes into a thing called the 5th wheel, and then you're connected to your trailer. And what you're supposed to do, before you hook up your trailer brakes, the trailer brakes are normally in a state of being locked until they're hooked up, and you release them. But you're supposed to try to pull forward, and you're trying to see, are you correctly attached? And if you're not, you'll just drive back out, and the trailer has the landing gear are still down, so it just stays put. It's fine, and then you can reconnect. But a lot of guys don't do this tug test. They just back in. They wind up the landing gear, or those 2 legs that the trailer stands on in the front.
Okay.
You crank those up, so now the trailer is resting on the truck. You attach your brake lines, and then you go to drive away. You weren't correctly hooked up. The truck pulls out. You snap your brake lines, and the trailer falls down onto the ground. And if it's fully loaded, you're going to have a lot of trouble cranking it back up.
It seems to me like you need to go to some sort of a course or something to learn these things.
You do. You go
There's
to truck
some
driving
sort of
school.
or
you
there's
just
a
learn
school
it.
for it.
Yeah, there is a school. Or you just learn it yourself in the first 2 weeks of actually being a driver. So there you go. Drivers, do your tug tests.
Well, good. All right. Well, that's going to just about wrap up our show for today, but we want to remind people of a number of things. 1, do your tug tests, everybody out there. Do your tug tests.
Yes.
2, you're going to need to email us. You want to be part of the Chosen Few because there will be benefits to that down the line. Just send us an email, put it in the subject line, the Chosen Few. send it to barrettandbaxa@gmail.com. Also, please go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and comment, like, all of those things that podcasts love you to do. And we'll be back around after you enjoy your Merry 4th of You Know the Thing.
Merry 4th of You Know the Thing.
All right.
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
4th of
See you
July,
next
everybody.
time.
And we'll see you in another week.
See you.
Well, that's it for this episode of Barrett and Baxa Media Schmedia. Like, subscribe, and do all that other stuff podcasts want you to do. Become one of the chosen few, the in crowd. You know, the cool kids. The ones who were passed out on Barrett's pool deck long after the party ended.
You don't say I love you like you used to before.